Arabia and fit to our investment strategy.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Just you ask, Mr. President, you allow me to answer. I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America. But, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to prove him wrong and to build our relation, to continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for no real purpose or nothing illegal way, and it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc., in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. President,
Okay, so let me take on a couple of things, and I think this is extremely, extremely important. I know some of you might be listening, and you're like, why does Trump have to speak so harshly to her? But I actually don't disagree with his method in speaking to this reporter this way. She's a complete and utter hack. This lady wasn't concerned about the relationship with Saudi Arabia, how it was deteriorating, how the Middle East was deteriorating under the leadership of Biden. She talks about Khashoggi, and she's concerned about the journalist. Listen, that guy was murdered. He was chopped up. It was obvious. It was an obvious hit. I'm not condoning that, but guys, I'm sorry. That is one journalist that was allegedly friendly with the Muslim Brotherhood. We're talking about, look at all the things that President Trump has accomplished in the Middle East. There is a big picture here that these reporters refuse to see because they're left-wing radicals, and all they want to do is get Trump. And guys, listen, I get it. It's easy to play teams, Republicans, Democrats, so on, et cetera. I completely get that. But I'm sorry, what President Trump has been able to pull off in the Middle East is nothing short of a miracle. Literal peace through Middle East. Is it gonna hold forever? No, I seriously doubt it, just because you have Islamists in the Middle East. But that doesn't negate what he's been able to accomplish. And I'm sorry, but I'm tired of these naive reporters inside of the United States associated with the mainstream media that try to project what America is onto these other countries. I'm sorry, but in the Middle East, they use the strong arm. They chop off arms. They chop off heads. They do disgusting, dangerous things in the Middle East. But what President Trump is trying to do is bring Saudi Arabia into the fold in order to deter more terrorism in the Middle East. And I'll get into this. Listen, I don't know. I don't like some of the things that Saudi Arabia has had to say about their conditions about coming into the Abraham Accords. I think there needs to be a little more pressure from President Trump to bring them in. But this lady is a complete and utter joke. Let's I tell you what, she's complaining about Khashoggi. This is really important that you get this. She's complaining about Khashoggi. Oh, the Trump boys are doing business in Saudi Arabia. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Frankly, it may be, it may not be. I don't necessarily like the looks of it, but you understand why the Trump family had to go outside of their normal real estate investments and all that kind of stuff to do business elsewhere and do other things elsewhere because they were being debanked inside of the United States at the behest of Joe Biden's administration. I mean, just absolutely disgusting. This is something that you will never hear talked about. Look at what happened with Iran. The cooperation that had to come from Middle Eastern partners such as Saudi Arabia and Iran in order for us to totally obliviate their nuclear program in Iran. I mean, that is just absolutely amazing and astonishing. But this chick wants to focus on Khashoggi. If you ask me if I prefer, and I know this is going to sound harsh, but I'm just being real with you. If I prefer Khashoggi being brought back to life or Israel being able to take out a bunch of Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthis, yeah, I'll take that every day of the week. Every day of the week. Saudi Arabia sat by, Jordan sat by, Syria sat by. You know why? Because they can't stand Hezbollah. They can't stand Hamas. They can't stand the terror that's happening in that region. And these people are trying to, in their own way. It's never going to be like the United States of America. It just simply is not, especially when you have a Islamic worldview as opposed to a Judeo-Christian worldview. But with Israel being right smack in the center of all of that chaos, it's going to take some people, and it took some other countries that were willing to just kind of turn a blind eye and let Israel do their thing. And we got to see the bigger picture in this stuff. Those terrorists, in my mind, would eventually try to come to the United States, destroy the United States. And there's no doubt Joe Biden imported some of them. Those were remember, that's Israel's the little Satan. We're the big Satan. So Khashoggi has agreed to, not Khashoggi, I'm sorry, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has agreed to basically a $600 billion investment in the United States of America. You guys, later on in that meeting, he upped it basically to $1 trillion. The deals are expected to include investments in AI, energy production, and defense. This, according to the Federal Defense of Democracies. So AI, energy production, and defense. That's what Saudi Arabia is wanting from this deal. Also, they want a nuclear deal. They want some of our F-35s. Discussing the possibility of U.S.-Saudi nuclear agreement. President Trump was kind of iffy on that. He said he could see that happening. It's not urgent, quote unquote. That's what the president said. Trump confirmed that the U.S. would be selling F-35s fighter jets to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia because he says they are a great ally and basically they would help deter terrorism. Now, the IDF, Israel, the Israeli Defense Forces, have a problem with this simply because they want to make sure that they have the superior air power in the Middle East. And quite frankly, I agree with them. These are our allies. These have been our longtime allies. I mean, for God's sakes, we built our country based upon their precepts. And so I think we give them the benefit of the doubt for being the longest democracy, quite frankly, in the Middle East. Also, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, when it comes to the Abraham Accords, he has shown some reservations. One thing that he said in that meeting, he said, quote, "We want to be part of the Abraham Accords, but we want also to be sure that we secure a path to a two-state solution." I'm sorry, Prince, there should be no two-state solution. We've already tried that. That's what Israel did with the Gaza Strip, letting Hamas run the Gaza Strip, and we see where that got them. So unless you're willing to take a bunch of the cockroaches of the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, then I think President Trump needs to kind of push the issue to make sure this guy comes on board with the Abraham Accords, frankly, before he gives anything. Before providing Riyadh with the F-35, this is from one of the experts at FDD. Washington should address concerns related to Riyadh's relationship with China, follow the law regarding Israel's qualitative military edge. We've agreed to give Israel military edge. They shouldn't lose that. And that Saudi Arabia first normalized relations with Israel. So before they get the fighter jets, in my opinion, I agree with FDD.org. that they need to normalize relationships with Israel. Israel should still have the best fighters in the region, and they need to cut ties with China. Now, sadly, under the Biden administration, he basically sent them right into the arms of China. A year ago, according to FDD, we had an American war on fossil fuels alongside an appeasement campaign of Iran and the Houthis, which was sending Saudi Arabia deeper into the arms of China. Now, with American energy dominance topping the agenda, Iran's nuclear programs set back for years, and a president focused on brokering Saudi-Israel normalization, the Crown Prince will be receiving, as he did, a warm welcome. But we basically, Joe Biden sent them into the arms of China. But I'm sorry, it's time for China, or for Trump to tell them that it's time for China to stop giving Saudi Arabia a bear hug. If they're either going to be our homies or China's. All right, as simple as that. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here for MyPillow. A major retail chain just canceled a massive order, leaving MyPillow with an overstock of classic MyPillows. Now it's your gain. For a limited time, MyPillow is offering their entire classic collection at true wholesale prices. You get the standard MyPillow for just $17.98. If you want more, upgrade to queen size for only $22.98 or king size for $24.98. Snag body pillows for just $29.98 and versatile multi-use pillows for just $9.98. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, that is CARL, or call 800-858-0263. All right. Plus, when you order totals of $75 or more, you'll receive $100 in free digital gifts, no strings attached. That's right. Premium pillows at unbeatable prices and bonus gifts to top it all off. Don't wait. Head to mypillow.com right now or call 800-858-0263. And don't forget to use the promo code Carl, CARL, to grab your standard MyPillow for just $17.98. That is insane. Can't beat that with a bat. All right, welcome back to the program. Let's talk about Epstein. I hate that we have to continue on with this conversation, but we do. I do want justice for the victims. I want closure for the victims. Many of the victims had signed non-disclosure agreements because basically they were abused. They got paid to remain silent, so to speak. And so many of them did not come forward as a result of that. But I guess today would be a freeing day for some of them. But I got to tell you, I felt like this needed to happen. I know this is going to sound probably somewhat controversial, but politically, but it's not the way that I would have preferred that it happen. And I was one of these people who said, listen, just let everything out. I just didn't think you could hold it back anymore. And sadly, these people did not get the justice, in my opinion, that they should have gotten in the court system. The House and the Senate, they're there to legislate, not necessarily there to bring justice. But if these people feel a sense of justice as a result of this stuff coming out of this Epstein file being released, so be it. But I got to tell you, there are some dangers that we need to be aware of. There's going to be a lot of people perhaps on the list, and it's nothing that you don't know, right? There's going to be some people on the list that may have had associations with Epstein that may not be guilty of the horrendous crimes. Apparently, from everything that I'm reading and hearing, Epstein was basically the one mostly guilty of the most horrendous crimes and the majority of crimes. And then you got some people like Prince Andrew, who was obviously involved in with Virginia Giuffre and no telling how many other young ladies, underage women that were under Epstein's corral. Excuse my language there, but I'm not sure how else to frame it. But this is something that in a sense, I hate that it ended this way, just because I feel like more people are going to be. This is about exploitation in a sense. I wonder if I hope it brings healing to these victims. I'm not sure that it's going to, but we know that the left is going to go ahead and exploit this for everything it's worth. But I felt like this was a story that the Trump administration needed to get behind them. And there's no doubt that there will be tricklings of this story that will come out as more names come out and so on, et cetera. But again, I would just remind you, just because people associate it with Jeffrey Epstein doesn't mean that they're necessarily the guilty party without evidence. So make sure that when we speak of these people, we do speak of evidence. But I do want to remind you of just how this goes beyond hypocrisy. These people knew about, they were in charge of, for a period of time, the House and the Senate after Biden claimed the White House in 2020, if you will, and they absolutely didn't care about the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They didn't care about the Epstein files at that period of time because I believe they thought or believed that knew some of their donors were perhaps involved or didn't want their names out there. Perhaps some of them were involved. We'll get into Stacey Plaskett and actually Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, who apparently got donations from this guy and inquired for donations from this guy, asked for donations. Here's what Chris Cuomo had to say. Chris Cuomo, formerly, what was he? Was he MSNBC, CNN? I don't even remember. But now he's on News Nation, the younger brother of Andrew Cuomo, who just lost the New York City mayoral race to Mamdani, a communist who is now coming out and saying he is going to use the ICC, their international courts, to basically, I believe, is try to either arrest or keep Netanyahu out of New York. Just absolutely insane. But nonetheless, that's where we are in the United States. But let's play this. Let's play cut number 23, if you would, Gabe. And then I want to go to some of the cuts of the victims and even Marjorie Taylor Greene and what she had to say, because I didn't like the way she. I just hate how this all went down. But cut number 23, please.
The left is saying it's all about the victims. I don't buy it. Okay? It wasn't about the victims wanting transparency and you wanting it for them during the Biden administration? Or before that, when like only 2 of you ever asked about it? Oh, wait, hold on. The Maxwell investigation was still going on. We couldn't release anything. Who's going to believe that? So no other investigation could go on of other people at the same time that Ghislaine Maxwell was being investigated? Really? Anyone supposed to believe that?
All right, so that's Chris Cuomo, and honestly, I think he's on News Nation. I gotta admit, I've watched his show a couple times. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but at the same token, he does a much better show on News Nation than he ever did on CNN, MSNBC, or wherever he was when Don Lemon followed his program. Here's another cut. Let's play cut number 11. You guys know about this. Plaskett is now Stacey Plaskett. This is she's being censured in the House. Democrats are trying to stall it because she was literally texting with Epstein while she was interviewing Michael Cohen, Trump's former fixer, if you will, or so he was called on the Hill. But here's her reaction about being censured over that. Cut number 11, please, Gabe.
Mr. Raskin, to my former professor in law school, and I want to address the body. I first want to give you all a sense of what was happening that day. Everyone knows at that hearing in February, the entire country was watching. As Michael Cohen decided he was going to finally give up information about what was happening in the Trump world, the Trump enterprise. And at the beginning of that hearing, the ranking member, Jim Jordan, had the disrespect to Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace and his name be a memory, after not allowing Mr. Jordan to shut the committee hearing down. And I turned to Mr. Jordan and told him to have respect for the chair and to basically shut up. And that moment went viral. And I began to get innumerable texts from friends, from foes.
Okay, be quiet. What does this have to do with Epstein? Let's go to cut number 22. So now she's upset because she's getting censored. She was literally receiving text on the Hill from a convicted pedophile, if I recall correctly at that time. Cut number 23. Literally receiving on a text on the floor from Jeffrey Epstein. Cut number 22. Cut number 22.
Me, and I'll take it under advisement now, and it's not a problem in terms of attorney-client privilege. Yes, I will turn it over.
You, as my friend Mr. Meadows pointed out, misled this committee even today in a written submission that contradicted your testimony. You have suggested you are going to review that. Are you going to review it in our next break to correct the record, yes or no?
Yes.
Question.
This
You
is her
helped out the
literally
president's
texting
campaign,
Jeffrey Epstein.
Or were involved in the campaign as a representative, as a spokesman, even in your words today. It was
Trying
your
to sound
idea
all
for the
high and
campaign
mighty,
dating
like
back
she's a
to
civil rights
2011.
activist.
Is that accurate? Yes or no?
Yes.
2011 is a year that sticks in my head. For it's the year my daughter was born, and it was the year I was diagnosed with cancer. I was not then pushing for Donald Trump to be president. I was fighting cancer.
You've mentioned some individuals to my
3 minutes
colleague
later.
from New York, Ms. Connolly, and also in your testimony about Mr. Weisenberg and other individuals, Ms. Rona. Who are those individuals? Are they with the Trump Organization?
They
and
are.
Are there other people that we should be meeting with?
So Alan Weisselberg is the chief financial officer.
Uh-huh.
The
You got to
Trump
quickly give us
Organization.
as many names as you can so we can get to them.
Yes, ma'am.
As Ms. Rona, what is Ms. Rona's position?
Rona Graff is Mr. Trump's executive assistant.
And would she be able to corroborate many of the statements that you've made here?
Yes, her office is directly next to his, and she's involved in a
We
lot.
can cut it there. Basically, I'm sure you've seen this video, but this is essentially Stacey Plaskett literally texting with Jeffrey Epstein and then coming back to ask questions that he had given her. Not to mention that he had given her, I think it was $8,100 in donation or campaign contributions recently, and she was asked to give that money back. She refused initially to give it back, and then finally decided to give the money back. Also, there are rumors. This is alleged. I don't know this for sure, but obviously, listen. She's a prosecutor in these Caribbean islands or what have you, and supposedly she turned a blind eye to some of the things that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. They all knew he was convicted at that point in time of, they knew what he was up to. They knew what type of dirt this guy was doing. So basically, the House and the Senate have all voted, the Senate unanimously, to release the Epstein files. And then also you have the House that voted almost unanimously, with the exception of Clay Higgins. He didn't vote. He voted no. You had a bunch of the Epstein survivors in the gallery that were crying, and I completely understand this. But his concern was basically there are going to be a lot of this didn't go through the traditional judicial process like it should have gone through. It just didn't. Sadly, there were some girls, like I said, that signed non-disclosure agreements. There were some pervs, no doubtedly, that should have gone to jail where perhaps a statute of limitations has run out. There's some names involved whose names are going to be sullied because they had associations with Epstein that may not have known. So this is basically a huge cluster mess, if you will. But this is politics inside of Washington, D.C. The only thing that I can pray is that the victims feel some sense of relief from this, genuine relief, and I pray that the country can move on. But I seriously doubt it as long as this stays in Washington. All right, just to give you an example, if we could pull up, I think it was cut 31 and 32 or 30 and 31, Gabe, whichever were the last couple of ones, just in order, if you would play those. Here's my concern. The first one, let's play this one. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course, you guys know, I'll be talking about this a little later in the week, the division that's happening within MAGA. I think it's a division that can be healed. But I think this ultimately has to do, I think the division in MAGA that you're seeing ultimately has to do with 2028. And I believe that this was going to happen all along. It's just happening probably a year sooner than I thought it would happen. But it's to be expected. But here's Marjorie Taylor Greene with the victims on Capitol Hill. Whatever cut that is, Gabe, 30 or 31. Let's play it, please.
I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people, whom we serve as representatives here in Congress, demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files. But the real fight will happen after that.
Okay, so that was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Listen, I don't hate Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought that was in horrible taste. I think that was neither the time or the place. I don't give a flip about your riff with President Trump at this moment in time. The victims got their day. If this is what they wanted, give them their day. Give them their respect. Leave your behind out of it. That makes no sense to me. The latter part of the speech, a little better. Getting into the back and forth, a patriot is this, we don't get involved in foreign stuff. That's just, I'm sorry, that's just complete naivete and utter nonsense. But beyond that, it's just the wrong time. We can have those debates in the future. This is what I'm concerned about for these victims. Is this just going to be another show? Is this just going to be more exploitation of the victim for the sake of political jockeying so that Marjorie Taylor Greene can win her next race, whether it's the House or whether she wants to elevate to the Senate? There was rumors that she wanted to run for the governor or the Senate, whatever race. And basically Trump had some polling showed her. The polling showed that she would get blown away in the Senate. And if she ran for the governorship, if I recall correctly, she would have no chance. I mean, this is just insane. And then you have Democrats who Chris Cuomo rightly pointed out didn't give a flip about the Epstein files because they were his they were on his donors list. Let's play cut number 13. Por favor, Gabe. This is Representative James Comer revealing that Hakeem Jeffries kind of looks like, if we're being honest, and I'm not even trying to be mean, but he looks like he could have been an alien in that movie Men in Black. If you next time you look at him, I think you'll agree with me. I'm not even trying to be mean, but you know I'm not lying. All right, cut number 13. Por favor, Gabe.
Colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch. The files underscore why former President Trump must appear for his deposition. We've subpoenaed him. To date, the Democrats have done nothing to help us secure his appearance. I support full transparency. The Oversight Committee will continue to work to get the truth to the American people and to get justice for the victims. That's our goal of this investigation. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, we reserve. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Okay. All right. So again, you had Hakeem Jeffries basically asking Jeffrey Epstein for money. This guy was a major Democrat donor. And of course, we all know the story that Democrats took three emails or three quotes, if I recall correctly, from tens of thousands of pages of documentation of this Epstein file, or the Epstein files, if you will, to try to demolish Trump, when the truth of the matter is all they had done was blacked out the name of Virginia Jeffrey, who had repeatedly stated that Trump had never harmed her. She used to work at Mar-a-Lago. Sadly, Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein recruited her from Mar-a-Lago. Eventually, there was a confrontation where Trump basically kicked Epstein out of the club, told him to stop coming around, told him to stop trying to take his employees. And then there was some type of dispute with real estate. Trump eventually, if I recall correctly, was one of the only people to go to the FBI. To go to the FBI or speak with the FBI regarding all of this Epstein nonsense. He knew that he was in the clear. He knew that he had nothing to worry about. But the Democrats wanted to. It was what Trump was saying. He wasn't very articulate in the way that he talked about it. But there's no doubt about it. This was the Democrats' attempt to make this the Russia collusion hoax of the midterms, if you will. That's what Trump was talking about. That isn't a slight to the victims. He wasn't trying to hurt the victims. He wasn't saying that their pain was a hoax. He was saying the way that the Democrats are trying to weaponize the Epstein files, and that's exactly it. So I'm glad there's transparency. At this point, there just needed to be transparency. I want the victims to heal. I think the country needs to get this behind them to the best of their ability. And I just hope that there's the innocent people that were innocent, that just had some type of association with them, that didn't have a clue. I don't care if they're liberal. I don't care. I don't want anyone's lives to be destroyed if they weren't playing a part of the crimes, playing a part of the crimes that he was involved in. But if they were, I hope they go down with the ship. There's no doubt about it. Here's Sonny Hostin of The View, because it's important that you understand a lot of these influencers or a lot of these TV personalities that are nothing but lefties, nothing but partisan hacks. They're not consistent. And Sonny Hostin is certainly one of them. Cut number 21, please, Gabe.
People were dying for this information. There was some sort of list that everybody thought was going to come out, and who's on the list. What's important for us to note is we shouldn't be repeating names that are on the list, because just because your name has not on the list, but in the documents, just because your name is on the documents doesn't mean that you have done anything criminally irresponsible or illegal or civilly irresponsible.
Or that you were a client.
Or that you were a client. The only really, these documents as I read them, only reflect Epstein's sexual assaults of women and his sexual behavior. So I think that...
And Ghislaine also?
And Ghislaine. And so being named in this suit does not equate to being accused of wrongdoing. And I think that is extremely important, because conspiracy theorists seem to not understand or enjoy facts.
Yes.
These are the facts.
There is a list. Trump's name is on the logs, the passenger logs of Epstein's aircraft at least 7 times. That's already been made public. I mean, of course, Trump is denying any and all allegations, but all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
That's what you say when you're a partisan hack. But like I said, man, I just hope that if it's possible for these victims to get some type of relief, some type of closure from the release of these Epstein files, I pray that they get it. But my concern is that they won't, because I think that this thing will be exploited to the nth degree. There's going to be a lot of Democrat names on that list. There's no doubt that there's going to be some Republican names on that list as well. The only names that I'm concerned about are anyone that was involved in the criminality. And again, I want them to go down. I want them to go down with the ship. But again, just to reiterate, both the House earlier today and then the Senate unanimously voted to release the Epstein files. The House, with the exception of Clay Higgins, decided not to. He pledged to vote for the bill if the Senate amended it to, quote, properly address privacy of victims and other Americans who are named but not criminally implicated. So that's why he held out, basically saying, in a sense, agreeing with Sonny Hostin, in a sense, agreeing with me. So I respect him for doing it. It's not because we didn't want the victims to get their day. But sadly, they should have got their day a long time ago. And I just hope and pray that they're not exploited going forward. Again, I fear that they will be. Guys, appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good.